Welcome to the American Indian Community House, a weekly Facebook Live update. I will be one of your hosts today. I'm Felix Ortiz Cruz. I am a descendant of the Taino indigenous people of Boricua, Puerto Rico. And, I'm here with some, latest updates about what's going on in, the world around us. And here is my co-host today, Miss Joan Henry. I'm sure she wants to introduce herself. So we will, get her started here. Just 1 second. Okay.
Mute, Joan.
Mm-hmm. Good to see you, especially now that I've finished playing with the mute button. I am really happy to see you. My name is Joan Henry. That's the easiest of the variations that exist. And oh my gosh, what is this? This is Life in the Bush with an actual phone. That is turned off. So we'll start this again. The busiest week of my life so far this week. I'm Chalagi Ndiarawaka. I've been a member of, a teacher at, a speaker at the community house for about 5 buildings now. So it goes back a ways to when I first came to New York to go to college about 1 million years ago. And it was on the 13th Street on a walk up. So there's which is a ways ago. The community house is an extraordinary place, and it's the place that you always go when you go to a new place, if you're part of Indian country, because you'll find a way to connect. You'll find community, literally, relationship, literally. Oh, everybody's coming to visit us today. Hey, the motorcycles are going down the mountain because I'm coming live to you from high in the mountains of the Northern Catskills, and every biker in existence thinks it's a gorgeous day, and they're right. So we're going to bring you today's news. We figure that anything that's left to go wrong has already happened. And other than letting you know that you're going to have a good time, I think we'll get started. Shall we, Felix?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Joan. It's a great introduction. So thank you guys all for being here today and having us discuss some current events with you. Let's start off with a couple things. So with record-breaking temperatures across the Turtle Island, I hope you are all staying cool and safe. In response to the severe heat affecting much of the country, the American Indian Community House, in partnership with the City of New York, will be distributing air conditioners to AICH community members over the age of 60. Our Get Cool NYC program encourages elders and relatives over the age of 60 to apply for a free air conditioning unit. AICH is partnering with Get Cool NYC to assist our relatives to help stay comfortable during this hot summer while we continue to stay safe at home during the pandemic. That's very important. For viewers that fit this profile, you can drop a comment below. If you have a relative or a friend that is interested, you can also contact AICH staff, Tatiana Benali, to see if you're eligible and for more information on the program. Well, as we all know, with current events, we are living in an unprecedented time. The concerns and health worries of COVID, the ongoing social, economical injustices and feeling of loneliness from being isolated from so many family, friends, and community is affecting all of us. Summer is a time for powwows, planting and harvesting ceremonies, and outdoor community gatherings. In void of this, the Community House's diverse social media programming is aimed to bring you a sense of connection and belonging to the comfort of your home. We may not be able to gather at powwows or festivals this summer, but we are here for you, and we are pledging to keep you all community members abreast with the latest updates across Indian country, like we're doing right now. We do also have weekly programming, especially such as fun and engaging ones like Two-Spirit Bingo, Mind Body Wellness with Fit Native TV, and interactive talking circles with some of New York City's most prominent Native elders. Our programming is open to all. Please do not be shy about RSVPing for certain events. The more the merrier. When we see you, we'll be happy to, make sure that you're there with us. Well, let's get into something a little bit more deeper. You know, we have several AICH Diné community members from the Navajo Nation. You know, confirmed cases on the Navajo Nation are thankfully decreasing. According to the Navajo Department of Health, as of July 24th, just a couple of days ago, there were 8,768 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19, and to date, a total of 434 COVID-related deaths. It's promising hearing that hospitalizations and deaths are coming down. However, border towns like Flagstaff, Albuquerque, and Farmington are having surges in confirmed COVID cases. Because of that, Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez will sign a new executive order to keep a portion of the tribal government closed through August 16th due to the increase in new COVID cases in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Nez has said, the data shows that the Navajo people are doing a good job in bringing the number of COVID-19 cases to a steady decrease on the Navajo Nation, but nearby border towns and cities such as Phoenix and Albuquerque continue to show increases in new cases. We cannot play politics with this potentially deadly virus. Instead, we have to listen to our healthcare experts and analyze the data. Well, in response to the current circumstances, Jonathan Nez has ordered mandatory weekend curfews that have been in effect for the past couple of months. You know, the curfew is aimed to prevent off-reservation visitors traveling through the Navajo Nation and possibly expose reservation residents to the virus. Additionally, the curfew encourages residents, not to make trips into border towns where there is a more likelihood of contracting the virus. AICH is in continual thought and prayer for all those who have and are being affected by the COVID-19. Please join us in keeping the faith with our relatives at the Navajo Nation, White Mountain, Apache tribes, the Hopi, Zuni, other heavily hit pueblos of New Mexico, First Nation reservations, and communities across Turtle Island. For those who are able to make a monetary contribution, please visit the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund. I'll say that again, the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund. Any contribution is most welcome, and we thank you in advance for your generosity. It's extremely impeccable that you please consider donating and giving. You know, we could use all that extra help for our family members. And I'm gonna pass it on to Joan. She has some information regarding the Docus First Nation. Joan, you there with us?
Wow, that's good. That's real good. We really need for people to be able to be aware and to help our neighbors, even if it's making masks or anything you can do, communicating or telling other people. Sometimes you don't have something, but someone you know does. Mm-hmm. And so the more we function as a community, the better.
Absolutely.
So Docus First Nation actually has some happier news. While COVID-19 is raging in our communities, both in urban environments and in our territories, Docus First Nation is wrapping up a long-awaited repatriation of ancient Indigenous remains. Docus First Nation is located in Ontario and is home to over 1,000 tribal members. Docus's chief, Gary Duquette, has spent the last decade diligently working to bring back the remains of his nation's ancestors. The remains are currently located and stored at the Field Museum in Chicago, which I've actually seen. How the ancestral remains from a First Nation community ended up in Chicago is a peculiar story. According to Duquette, in the late 1800s, there was a major fire in Chicago. Some of you may have read that in your school books. Mm-hmm. As a way to boost the economy, the city held an exhibition after the fire, the Great Chicago Fire, right? Which included displays or artifacts from all over the world. 6 ancestral people were excavated from an island within Docus territory to be shown for this city exhibit. Another reminder of the ongoing horrors that we as Native people endure when our ancestors and relatives are disturbed from their resting burial sites, only to be paraded around as objects of curiosity. The Field Museum, however, has been working closely with Chief Duquette and verified the remains did indeed come from Docus Nation. The First Nation mentioned how respectful the Field Museum has been during the repatriation process, and that is their record to date. Since 1990, the American Graves and Repatriation Act acknowledges that human remains and other cultural items from federal or tribal lands belong to the lineal descendants, Indian tribes, and Native organizations. Because of this law, museums must comply if a tribal nation and or organization requests information pertaining to a museum's collection and if the objects have been identified with a specific tribe or peoples. If you or your community has reason to believe a museum here in the United States may have possible artifacts, objects, and remains, the best approach would be visiting the National Park Service's online webpage for NAGPRA. On this page are helpful resources in dealing with compliance, enforcement, law, and policy, and an overview on getting started in approaching NAGPRA. You know what that is, right? That's the Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act. Within the United States, there are millions of objects and remains from tribal nations that were illegally required. Some are not accessible. Any museum has to comply with NAGPRA. NAGPRA is a Congress-mandated national and international law. With that said, research on lineal descendants needs to be proven to identify an object and or remain to a tribal nation. Too often, items that were improperly inventoried and cataloged may have the wrong tribal identification and location. You can find that at the Smithsonian today. Nonetheless, it is a blessing hearing that Docus Nation's ancestors will be returning back to their homelands.
Thank you, Joan. It's great to hear because so often, there are displaced remains that just are never recovered or, reunited back with their nation. So this is very, 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 very great news. And now we're going to steer the direction over to some more pressing U.S. government matters right now. This past Tuesday, President Trump released a memorandum that calls for a change to the constitutionally mandated count of every person living in the U.S. In other words, a change not to the census, but how the data will be used. The memorandum will now exclude unauthorized immigrants from the numbers used to divide up seats in Congress among the states. Now, this issue for the 2020 census will exclude immigrants residing here in these states. The very first census was conducted in 1790. Citizens, immigrants, and non-citizens have always been included in the country's census counts. In response to this news, it is critical that all those who can participate in the 2020 census to do so and to take action. We Indigenous people have experienced erasure for centuries. To ensure we are still counted, please, please, please take the 2020 census. Because of COVID-19, nonprofit organizations have been affected by the lack of funding. Such as our organization, the American Indian Community House, preserved solely on philanthropic funds and by individual donations from allies and supporters like you. So thank you. And then we're also going to take a little turn. Mainly, we're looking at how education for us as Native Americans can really be useful in connecting us to our culture. Right now, school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, is paving the way for integrating Native cultural programming into their curricula. Since the 1970s, the Grand Rapids Public School Native American Education Program supports its students to aspire to future goals and lead a balanced life. The Native Education Program is federally funded for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. The program's goal is to increase high school graduation rates amongst Native Grand Rapids youth. The program aims to bring awareness to cultural language as well as Michigan's tribal identity. The program also prepares students for college or vocational trainings. The school has a good working relationships with Michigan's 12 federally recognized tribes. The wonderful work the school in Grand Rapids is doing is a testament that is just as important for Native Americans, Indigenous people, to continue taking the 2020 census. Our current Native programs across Indian country and future programs will be determined on how many of us complete and take the census. So please fill out the census, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of your relatives and your community. Every Native and Indigenous count will provide more allocation and resources for federal funding, and in turn, our cultural survival. Now, Joan, I hand it over to you.
Wado. That's so important that we stand up and be counted. It's so important that even though we are sovereign, we still, in the peculiar turn of the government structure, have the right to vote and can make a difference in how country government continues to move.
To function.
That's a serious thought, and one we should consider in an election year where it is so clear that change needs to happen. That's not a strange thing to be said here. Meanwhile, the annual North American Indigenous Games, which was scheduled to take place this summer in Nova Scotia, but due to the pandemic and travel restrictions, the North American Indigenous Games Association decided to postpone the event for next summer and move this summer's games online. The virtual games will feature over 5,000 sports participants enrolled in the virtual platform to offer viewers different tutorials on lacrosse, soccer, basketball, and demonstrations for other popular games. Drumming groups and dancers will all be participating online. There will also be at-home walking challenges. And just like the community house, the online North American Indigenous Games will offer community bingo. We'd also like to welcome you to visit the Community House Garden on Governor's Island. The Community House Garden is in partnership with Earth Matters Soil Start Farm. Governor's Island is located in New York Harbor with daily ferry service from downtown Manhattan and Brooklyn to the island. This year, all ferry tickets need to be booked in advance online at govisland.com. That's GOVISLAND.com. New York Harbor has always been an epicenter of trade and commerce. Prior to European contact and invasion, the waterways of New York Harbor flourished with northeastern and southeastern tribes utilizing the harbor as a trade center. The Lenape, Canarsie, Ramapo, Haudenosaunee, Munsee, Shinnecock, Matinecock, and many other nations of the East Coast. The Community House's curated Garden of Scunna, or Peace, for the Agricultural Heritage Project represents several native and indigenous plants. Downtown New York City is an immigrant community, and the garden reflects the diverse intertribal populations that call Mannahatta home. The past several months have been challenging for our community in New York City. We offer our gardens as a means to reconnect and to heal. With the concerns of COVID-19 and the ongoing social and economic injustices, we invite you to receive nourishment from Earth Mother and reconnect with our roots. Governor's Island's traditional programming featuring gallery and residency spaces has been repurposed for use by artists and cultural practitioners affected by COVID-19. So we're looking after one another in that way. Governor's Island, and I quote, is a truly magical place that provides the space and time for artistic production and research not possible in other parts of the city, end quote, said Meredith Johnson, Vice President of Arts and Culture at the Trust for Governor's Island. She went on to say, the cultural organizations that call the island home shape the cultural landscape of New York in a myriad of ways. And as we face one of our most uncertain moments in recent history, we are grateful to have such a dedicated group of partners to mobilize efforts and pool our resources in support of the city's cultural future, end quote. Once artists are in their spaces, LMCC, the Trust, and participating organizations will come together to share resources and organize virtual gatherings for artists working on the island. As a diverse set of institutions spanning the arts, sciences, culture, and the environment, organizations participating in the Governor's Island Residency Initiative are guided by a shared set of values and priorities that will inform their individual approaches to outreach and the selection of residency participants. Serving artists and cultural workers in need of workspace in the wake of COVID-19, ensuring that artists and cultural practitioners of diverse racial identities, gender expressions, and sexual orientations from across New York City have access to this opportunity and are being represented in the initiative. Seeking out artists and cultural workers whose practices give back to or aim to make positive change within the New York City cultural community and/or the city at large. Seeking out artists and cultural workers whose practices address important socio-political issues, including but not limited to public health, gender discrimination, immigration, racial equality, climate change, and environmental justice, and out artists and cultural workers whose practices will benefit from working on Governor's Island as a public space serving diverse audiences. You can see that they're really working to include the entire mini world community that New York area actually is. The Governor's Island Residency Initiative will reposition indoor spaces that were historically used for exhibitions and public programming as residencies or workspaces for artists and other members of the city's cultural community from August to October of this year. After postponing all indoor public programs, organizations are pivoting their spaces to participate in this initiative and accommodate artists in need. New York City's cultural community is undergoing an unprecedented level of disruption, with many experiencing either a loss of income or unemployment due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Artists and other cultural workers may be unable to access or afford dedicated space to work, think, research, plan, rehearse, and otherwise further their creative practices, an acute issue in many US cities even before the pandemic, but a critical edge issue here in New York, the artistic center of the United States, certainly for theater, certainly for music. As many others as there are, the place that people know and identify with our culture's arts is here. AICH is deeply grateful to Governor's Island and how we are still able to offer our programming to the public in such a beautiful island setting. Last year at our summer residency on the island at the Admiral's House, AICH saw 15,000 visitors come through our space. The support of Governor's Island facilitating our native programming to reach a broader and more diverse audience was essential. We had visitors from Europe, Asia, South America, all across Indian country, and of course, the greater New York City community. This is what we want to do. We reach, each one teaches one. When we reach a few, that goes out. Please come visit Governor's Island.
I really want to now after hearing that. Like, why aren't I there? Well, you know, so as we're seeing, there's a lot going on with the AICH, and right now we are continuing to bring fun and interactive programming to you at the safety and the comfort of your home. You know, the viewer's beloved program Fit Native TV is hosted and taught by AICH staff, Tanis Paranto. She's a Métis Nation of Alberta, yes. We are lucky to have Tanis's fitness expertise. Besides getting workout lessons from Tanis, you can also see her on Showtime's series Billions. The online fitness classes include a circuit-style strength training and cardio class. Join Tanis on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. RSVP to participate on Zoom or watch on Facebook Live. Weekend Warrior Challenge is live. The top 5 fit natives to collect the most points during each weekend will win fitness equipment such as yoga mats, water bottles, exercise sliders, and exercise bands. Contact us for details on how to join the challenge. And now we're shifting our stuff from the Fit Challenge to Native Theater Thursday, which I've had the honor of participating in. Last week's play was Flying Bird's Diary, written by Melissa Tantiquidogan Zobel, Mohegan, and directed by Madeline Sayet Mohegan. For those who were not able to tune in, the play's synopsis is as follows. In 1830s New England, Flying Bird's school teachers beats and expels her for speaking Mohegan and speaking her mind. She draws strengths from the legendary story of a wolf woman, her cousin Henry, who declares her a language warrior, and her nonna Martha, who takes her to meet the mystical Makia Wisuk, little people of the forest. Thanks to her whaler father's gift of a diary, Flying Bird writes regularly in English and in Mohegan about her life. She chronicles the life, the loss of her tribe's land, language, burial grounds, and festival life. In her final years, she develops dementia, and her diaries burn at the home of an anthropologist. In the end, Flying Bird passes away without accomplishing her language preservation goal. But the ancestors are always with us, according to Mohegan beliefs, and a miracle paves the way for Flying Bird to see her life's quest accomplish. This play is based on a true story.
It is a true story. It
Yeah.
is a true story of, it's a true story, Felix, of
Mm-hmm.
of the director and her mother, who is the author, and Mohegan Nation, which is experiencing an unprecedented resurgence of their language. They're really restoring it. And that was all because of Flying Bird's work.
Wow, that's so inspiring. I mean, this is like giving me so much life that I had no idea of this incredible historical figure. Well, you know, in Flying Bird's Diary does feature an array of exquisitely made costumes while being historically accurate and culturally appropriate. The costume designer for the play is none other than the talented Asa Benali of the Dine. Asa was raised on the Navajo Nation reservation and then attended Parsons School of Design in New York City. In 2016, he completed his MFA in costume design from Yale University. Asa currently lives and works in New York City. So it's so great to see, you know, a native costume designer with such an incredibly vast array of experience and willingness to incorporate his talents into such a powerful story of such a great figure. I love that.
That was an amazing experience for me because I had the privilege of portraying Nonna Martha, the grandmother.
Oh my gosh, did you really?
Cranky sometimes, traditional, smart mouth, occasionally flippant, completely devoted to her granddaughter and the traditional ways. And in fact, our own Tanis Peranto actually played my daughter, Flying Bird's mother, Sally, a very forward-thinking, modern native. Thank you, motorcycles! Doing her best to keep her family going. It really is a powerful story, originally written as a screenplay, and there was an incredible cast. So I would highly encourage you to, without tooting my own horn, because it was such an incredible experience and such an astonishing cast, by all means, go to our website, I don't know if it's on the website, it's definitely on the Facebook page at AICH. By all means, go there and check the videos. You'll see that it's played out. And sit yourself down for an incredible experience. Sometimes funny, sometimes tragic. You know, everybody ends up wiping a tear away from their eye because it's real. It's the real struggles of our people and the real story and the real jubilation of being able to rise from it, just like Docus Nation is rising from all our misappropriated ancestors' bones and getting theirs back.
Right.
Mohegan's getting its language back. So since we are talking about sacred things and our culture and the way we hold it and keep it, I really want to tell you about the traditional teachings component that we have running as a regular series at AICH. It's called Sacred Spaces, Traditional Knowledge and Teachings. And we ask you to join us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time to attend on Zoom or watch on Facebook Live. Our Sacred Spaces, Traditional Knowledge and Teachings, previous guests have been Red Woman, Nadima Agard, who's wonderful, telling the stories of Double Woman and White Buffalo Calf Maiden, and so many others. Nadima's knowledge is vast. Sacred Spaces is a wonderful way to honor and learn from our elders and is a means to connect generations across Turtle Island, particularly at a time when that disconnect between elders and youngers puts our knowledge at risk. Please come by. Now, one of the most fun things we do at the community house is Two-Spirit and Digiqueer Bingo. You really want to join us for the Two-Spirit and Digiqueer Bingo. You really want to. It has been either every Friday, and it may go, occasionally we skip a Friday, but it's a happening to be had. This Friday, you can join us on the 31st at 7 p.m. a fun evening with games and prizes like this fabulous
Ooh, that's cute.
AICH baseball shirt, which spends most of its time around my waist in class. So everybody asks about it. You know, stand up, show up for the community house and come play with us. Have a great time. Our hosts are always, they always bring their own theme and they're always hysterical. Last week was Sage and she was hysterical. Bingo is a Zoom only event though. So please message us to RSVP your place. Previous hosts and bingo callers, aside from Say Chanel, include Landa Lakes, Prepahantas, Claudia Haddad, Tony Enos, Ty Defoe, Moose, and I don't know if you think you could be a host, and you should definitely give in a call. Contact the community house. First, come play a game. You won't be sorry. You'll laugh really hard. One of our other important series is the Sacred Spaces, honoring our elders' talking circles. Again, speaking to the transmission of knowledge from elders to youngers. Every Sunday at 12 p.m. EDT, which is high noon, join the American Indian Community House as we host Sacred Spaces, honoring our elders' talking circle, a place for our community to honor elders through these uncertain times. As a community, we will be claiming time to check in with one another, talk about our journeys, catch up with friends, and share insight and good medicine to strengthen each other's spirits and unity. This event is for AICH community members of all ages, and it also is Zoom only. Please message to RSVP and reserve your place. I want to add to that that I cannot tell you how important it is that we take the time to spend with our elders while they are still with us. That we take the time to give back in that way, because when you reach this elder age, your whole experience is on that place on the wheel is about turning towards the process of giving back. And that opportunity has lifted so many early years AICH elders that I've seen come through and speak there. Their hearts are so lifted by that that's one whole dynamic that I don't think you may realize. You aren't just sitting in a room listening and learning. Your give back is your presence and your attention, and that completes the circle. So I really encourage you, don't miss the stories they have to tell while they are here. With that, I'd like to pass it to you, Felix, because you know what we're looking at now on the screen.
Yeah, so we are doing a quick virtual YouTube channel tour. I just subscribed literally right now. I hadn't subscribed yet. Now I am. So please, if you're watching this from your home, just type in American Indian Community House. The first one that pops up is our channel. You can like it, subscribe it. So everything we've been talking about, all the archives of, I'm going to scroll on it too. Our Fit Native workouts are there. We have some recipes. We have sacred spaces for elder storytelling, social justice series. We also have, our Native theater live play reading series. So you could, catch some of the most recent plays we have done. And they're all on there. So if you subscribe, if you follow those, more viewers, the more time you can see what's been going on, what can you expect in the future. All that kind of stuff is really relevant to this day and age. We're at home most of our days, We're not going to YouTube and support a channel that's really, again, here for the community. So the American Indian Community House YouTube channel is live. Go subscribe, go watch all the videos, and all that's going to help us, reach a broader audience and help out those who are in need, Well, thank you guys. This has been our, weekly Sunday Facebook Live update. I just want to thank you guys all for being here and helping us out. And I want to thank Joan for being my co-host for today. And I'll pass it over to her if she wants some closing remarks. Okay.
I'd like to thank you, Felix. You've been a wonderful co-host. I'd like also to thank Tanis Pronto, who makes this all possible behind the scenes, in addition to her myriad talents as an actor and as a personal trainer. There's so many things that we never think about, the things we have to give back. Sometimes you just have to show up and find out what it is. And that's part of what makes us community. This gift of COVID-19, its coyote gift, if you will, is that of allowing us to reach across boundaries, allowing me to share the Northern Catskill Mountains, even with the motorcycle guys going by, to share that with all of you, allowing us to see the lovely light coming through the windows in Felix's North Carolina home.
Yes.
We have the opportunity to reach out to one another across this invisible web that our prophecies talked about. Guess what? We're on it.
Yes.
And we'd like to thank you for having been on it today, for listening, and really encourage you to tune in every Sunday to hear what we're doing next. Please join us then.
Right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.